Hey guys, it's Charmaine. Today, what we're going to talk about is how to garden in a cinder block raised bed and some considerations if you're putting one together. And also, since what I grow mostly around the edges of my cinder block raised bed are strawberries, we're going to talk about some strawberry care as well. So let's get started. So let's talk about some reasons why you would even want to start a cinder block raised bed in the first place. Well, I can tell you that this bed I started in 2020, and the price of wood at that time was astronomically high. I wanted to fill this entire front yard with raised beds, but there was no way I could afford to do that with the price of wood at the time. So I shopped around. I thought about doing metal raised beds, but again, funds were definitely limited. So I bypassed those altogether and I went towards the cinder block raised beds. They were quite a bit cheaper, and I was able to get this 8-foot bed done for less than $50, if you can believe it. Now, that's not including the cost of the truck that I used to get the beds here. As you can see, my little tiny Ford Fiesta over here is not big enough to carry a pallet of cinder blocks here. So I did just rent a truck from Home Depot, and I rented it for 1 hour. Went, got the bricks, and then I parked right up close to my fence, and I just chucked them over the fence. I just swung them over. Once they were all here, I went and returned the truck, and then I came back and put the bed together. So that is one. Now, you don't need to make a big old long 8-foot raised bed. You can do, 3-foot, 4-foot, circular, any configuration that you can make a wooden or a metal raised bed. You can also do for a cinder block raised bed much cheaply. You could also just put together a few of the blocks and fill the holes. Having a cinder block raised bed is like having a twofer. Not only do you have the center growing space, you also have the cinder block holes to grow in. What can you grow in those cinder block holes, you ask? Strawberries, herbs like mint. I had mint in here. I've had lemon balm. I've had chives, chamomile. You can grow onions, spring onions, bulbing onions if you do them one at a time. You can also do things like garlic in here if you do those one at a time. There's so many things. Flowers, I've had different flowers, forage, and all sorts of things in these cinder block holes. So don't overlook the cinder block raised bed. They can often be an economical option for your garden. Now this raised bed is about 8 feet long and roughly 2 feet or so wide. So there's some things that you're going to want to consider when you're putting together a cinder block raised bed. The first is going to be your surface. Is it level? Does it have a lot of bumps in it? You don't need to go out and get a level to make it work, but you might need a shovel to make it a little bit more even. It doesn't need to be drastically even. As you can see, there are some gaps in here. It's not perfectly level. It really doesn't need to be. Once you have things growing here, no one's really going to be paying attention to how level your bed is. The next thing you're going to want to consider is what to put on the bottom. Now, I use a fabric surface on the bottom that does break down over time. Cardboard is also something that's really good. I've used it in other beds before. I wouldn't recommend using anything like plastic that won't break down over time on the bottom of your raised bed. Next, something you want to consider is how you're going to fill this raised bed. What I did for this one, since money was definitely an issue, was I grabbed a bunch of sticks and branches, put those on the bottom. On top of that, I got some hay, grabbed a bale of hay from the local feed store. It was less than $15. And then on top of that, I put my soils and my compost, and that saved me a ton of money. Now, as you can see, these strawberry plants have been doing really nicely in the holes. In fact, so nicely that they want to root out all over this raised bed. Now this is where I'm going to have most of my flowers for this year. So I'm going to cut out all of those runners
and I'll likely replant some of those over by the orchard.
So, here on the western coast of Washington, strawberries are a perennial. So, I don't typically cover these up or put them inside or anything like that during the winter. But I do like to come in late winter, early spring, and do some pruning of anything that is dead, diseased, or dying. So, all of these old runners down here that are dying or already dead, I go ahead and cut them off. Strawberry plants will send out runners. What you'll see, and I'll show you a close up shot of this, but along the ground, what you'll see are lots of little strawberry plants as it propagates itself. And that is pretty much how I start new strawberry plants for the most part. These plants have been in this raised bed holes for about 4 years now. So next year, I'll need to restart some. Now, these strawberries are still dormant, so anything that is still nice and green and healthy, I'll keep on the plant. But anything that's green and might be diseased or dying, I'll go ahead and cut off right now. This is a really decent set of roots on this plant, so it might survive if I transplant it. So I'll hold on to it. As you can see, these strawberry plants were quite vigorous in this bed. These are all the ones that I just pulled out from this side alone. There's going to be many, many more on the other side. And there's also some that are starting to grow in some of these holes that I have designated for other things like mint and thyme and that kind of thing. So I am going to have to relocate some of these, but these are all free strawberry plants.
Now, I did get most of the strawberries pruned except for those in that corner right back there. I'll have to get those when it's a little bit drier out. But as you can see, I've got strawberries all along the ground here, and I will be cleaning some of those up. But what my goal is to create sort of an edible landscape and just have the strawberries create like an edible mulch, essentially, along the ground all along here. I do need to do some cleaning up of the leaves, and maybe put down either some more straw or perhaps some more wood chips.
It is starting to get dark out here. The sun is going to set here soon, and I'm doing this after work. So I will have to start this again another day and finish it up. But I will go ahead and end the video here. Let me know if you have any experience growing cinder block beds, and what you grow in the bed itself and also in the holes. Let me know if you have any questions. Put those down in the comments box below. And thank you so much for watching. Be blessed.